ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Rupa Publications India, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you to the launch of Newsman, Tracking India in the Modi Era by Rajdeep Sardesai. So wonderful to see so many of you here. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and introduce our distinguished panel for the evening, who will be discussing and debating the big question: who will win 2019 elections with our Newsman? Mr. Sachin Pilot, President of the Rajasthan Pradesh Congress Committee. Mr. Naresh Gujral is a Shrimoi Akali Dal party politician and a member of the Parliament representing Punjab in the Rajya Sabha. Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, National Spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party and the Honorary Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Dr. Kagoli Ghosh Dastidar, President of West Bengal Mahila Congress. She is a member of the 16th Lok Sabha, re-elected in the Indian general elections. Mr. Saudin Owaisi, President of the AIMMS. He is a three-time Member of Parliament, representing the Hyderabad constituency in Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament. Mr. Yugendra Yadav, politician and founding member of Swarajya India and Jai Kisan Andolan. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Kapish Mehra, Managing Director, Rupa Publications, for the publisher's address.
Thank you, Vasundhara. A very good evening. First of all, to the honorable panel, I'm not going to repeat all your designations and everybody knows you, but first of all, thank you very much for making time today. I think Sachin, Gujral Sahab, Gaurav, Yugendra ji, ma'am, all of you are special for us because when we talk about a subject like this, it is imperative that we put together a panel with a diverse opinion. But most importantly, I think a publisher's address shouldn't be anything else but a thank you note. And it should be to nobody else but the author. So thank you, Mr. Newsman. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. And for allowing us to get into your living room, drag the columns, the writings, all of them out to create this book. It has really been a privilege to have had the opportunity to publish you. While a lot of people know Rajdeep and different facets of him, one thing I did learn during my journey as a publisher is that he is a foodie. So the big motivation for me, apart from the fact that one was getting the privilege of working with him, was to be able to enjoy the morning breakfast and the 9 a.m. coffee, the watermelon juices and things that went on for about 2 hours. That provided the ultimate motivation to be there and make this book happen. But on a slightly more serious note, I think, as publishers, our entire modus operandi is to be opportune, to put out certain content at a certain point in time. And while we were looking at different possibilities of books that could be put out at this moment, as we run up to the general elections, who better than Rajdeep and who better to comment on the current state of affairs in the perspective that he has had. While doing so, we did, put together this book, which, is now in your hands. And we are slightly apprehensive about what is the level of response we will get. Positive, yes, but how positive? Is it going to be 10x, 5x, expected? That's something you really never know. I mean, publishing is not an exact science. I wish it was. But I'm happy to state, ladies and gentlemen, the only way one can sort of quantify the success or the likely success of a book at a book launch is by mentioning that it's touched 10,000 copies in first day orders from Monday to Wednesday. Now, if that is an indication of Newsman, I must say that it's already on its way to being a bestseller. Is that because of the columns? Is that because of the subject? Is that because of the timing? Well, that's everybody's, a decision that I leave to you. But if you ask me, it wouldn't have been possible without a man in the news. So thank you, Mr. Newsman.
Mr. Owaisi will be joining us shortly. May I please request the panel to kindly release the book? Before we move into the debate, I'd like to invite man of the evening, our author, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Vasundhara. I wasn't going to say a few words, but I thought that we might as well wait till Mr. Owaisi comes. So that was one way of keeping you occupied. He's promised that he's finishing his namaz and would be here by 7:15, which is any time now. This is going to be a televised debate in terms of the fact that we'll put it out on air on Friday at 9 p.m. on India Today. So bear with us for a couple of minutes. But give me the opportunity, first of all, to thank each and every one of you for having come here. I know it's not easy in Delhi's traffic, particularly in the evening. So thank you all very much for being here at the Nehru Memorial. It was just under 4 years ago that I was at this very venue when I brought out a book called 2014, The Elections That Changed India. That was a book based on reportage and analysis over a period of time leading up to an election that in many ways was seminal and historic. An election that saw the first non-Congress majority government in this country. I thought of vaguely a sequel, possibly after the 2019 elections, if one has the time and energy and inclination to do so. Because I have no doubt that the 2019 elections in their own way will be equally dramatic, if only because the nature of electioneering in this country has changed beyond recognition. Also, some would say because of the man at the center of it all. But we can leave that for another day and another time. But the nature of politics in this country has changed dramatically. And I think one of the reasons I agreed to write a prequel against my best intentions was possibly because I believe that we live in an age where today's news is tomorrow's history. And therefore, I think it's important to document the kind of times, the turbulent, exciting times in which we live. And these writings and columns over the last 4 years will provide you some kind of a glimpse, I hope, into the dramatis personae and the key players, one of whom is just coming, who we will be asking questions to, from a party called the Shiv Sena, which doesn't know whether it's in or out. And that's going to be the nature of politics in the next 6 to 9 months. Because I think we are in that era where alliances are extremely flexible. There is a chapter in this book on Lalu Prasad and Nitish Kumar when they suddenly came together and almost became a Jodi number 1 of Bihar. 2.5 years later, they are possibly going to come back again, who knows? But for now are in different camps. So I think Indian politics has become more, it's now far more competitive than ever before, but also less of ideology, less of individualism. Anti-BJPism, some would say, has been replaced by anti-Modiism. But you have a very different kind of politics which is playing out in this country today. Therefore, I'm very grateful to all my guests for agreeing to participate in this. Mr. Owaisi, who's just joined us, Sachin Pilot, Naresh Gujral, Gaurav Bhatia, who's come at very short notice because Mr. Jayant Sinha, unfortunately, is stuck in a cabinet meeting, Yogendra Yadav, and Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar. I've tried to represent as many viewpoints as possible, and there are some in the audience who also represent parties like the Biju Janata Dal, Mr. Pinaki Mishra's party, which we don't know which way it will swing. Mr. Jai Panda, who as an individual is deciding what he's going to do next. So there will be individual alignments which will also change. Let me also very quickly, before we go into the debate, just also say this is a special day for me because my father was born on this day, and today Google actually did a Google Doodle on him. which I didn't know of. So, he means a lot to me, and that's the reason why I chose the 8th of August as the day to launch it. I'm very grateful to Shakti Sinha and the Nehru Memorial for giving us this space at short notice. I think Pandit Nehru, whatever else he was someone who would have encouraged this kind of free-flowing debate, and therefore I think this is the most appropriate venue. The idea was to keep it as an open audience, anyone who wished to come. Let me just make one final point. This book is dedicated to journalists. We live in times where journalists, particularly beat reporters, face far more difficulties than ever before. We've seen in the past couple of weeks, and the Editors Guild of India today has come out, thankfully, with a very strong statement on the times in which we live. And I think it is time for us as journalists to stand up rather than be willing to crawl when asked to bend. And therefore, this book is dedicated to journalists. Many of them are my dear friends. I believe they must have every right to express their opinion, as must any individual in this country, and there must be what I call samvad rather than vivad. In the best tradition of that samvad, I hope this debate will take place without necessarily the noise of television, and maybe at the end of the day we'll have a little bit more light and a lot less heat. Thank you very much once again for coming. Thank you.